If I told you that life does not give you what you want, but what you are, would you believe me? Most people hear such a statement and dismiss it as poetry, a beautiful idea for someone else, perhaps for a more enlightened age. But you, the one hearing these words in this very moment, did not arrive here by accident. Something within you, a quiet insistence, a sacred restlessness, has grown weary of chasing results in the outer world. Something in you knows, without needing proof, that there must be another way to live, another way to create, another way to be. You are here because a deeper part of you is tired of hoping, tired of waiting, tired of struggling toward what seems forever just out of reach. You are here because something in you is finally ready to stop wanting and begin being. Wanting is the language of absence. Being is the language of fulfillment. You see, when a man says, "I want wealth," he declares unconsciously that he does not have wealth. When a woman says, "I want love," she declares she is separate from the state of love. And life, being a perfect mirror, reflects that internal declaration with exquisite precision. But when a man assumes the feeling of abundance, even before the evidence arises, life bends to that assumption. And when a woman embodies the state of being loved, even in silence, her world rearranges itself to confirm it. This is the great truth I taught many years ago, in halls filled with men and women searching for meaning. Your own wonderful human imagination is the only reality, not the world you touch with your hands, not the facts printed in newspapers, not the numbers written upon ledgers and bank accounts. These are merely shadows, echoes, reflections of the deeper reality within you. The true world is invisible. The true world is your inner state. The true world is your imagination, clothed in feeling. For imagination is not a fantasy. It is the God of Scripture, the creative power of the universe, dwelling in you as your own awareness of being. So tonight, as we begin this journey, I ask you to listen not as one who seeks entertainment, nor as someone hungry for new ideas to store upon a shelf, but as the one who intends to live what is spoken. This is not a lecture, it is an initiation. This is not theory, it is instruction. You are not here to learn how to wish for what you desire. You are here to learn how to feel that you already have it, and in doing so, call it forth from the unseen. For the world is not waiting to give, it is waiting to respond. Now, before we proceed deeper, I ask something of you, not as a ritual of vanity, but as a declaration to yourself. When this moment settles into your heart, and when you feel even the faintest whisper of recognition, I want you to affirm not merely in thought, but with action. When this experience concludes, go and write in the comments, not to me, not to an audience, but to the universe itself: I am now living from the end. Write it as though etching upon the fabric of consciousness itself. Write it as one who no longer waits for permission. Write it as a decree, a covenant, a spiritual announcement. From this moment on, I live as the one who already has. For when a statement leaves the silence of your inner chamber and enters the world as a spoken or written word, it becomes a seed, not a hope, not a plea, but a command. And consciousness, which is the only power in existence, must obey. Your old story has carried you far, but you have reached the threshold where desire must become identity, where longing must become embodiment, where imagination must become fact. So take a breath, release the tension of the past, and listen closely. For tonight you do not learn to attract, you learn to be. We begin. You have been taught, perhaps your entire life, that desire is a sign of lack, that wanting something means you do not yet possess it, and that the feeling of desire is a wound, a reminder of distance between you and what you seek. But I tell you tonight, desire is not the voice of absence. Desire is the voice of fulfillment, calling you home. A desire is not a cry from emptiness. It is a whisper from completion. It does not come from the man you are now in the eyes of the world, but from the man you already are in imagination. You do not desire what does not already exist. You never have. If you desire freedom, it is because freedom already exists in you as a state of consciousness, waiting to be embodied. If you desire love, it is because love is already alive within your being, longing to be expressed. If you desire wealth, it is because wealth is already yours in the unseen, waiting only for the garment of feeling. The desire did not arise to torment you. It arose to identify the state you are meant to assume. Many years ago, I said from the lecture platform, a desire is a gift. It is a map leading you back to yourself. When you feel the longing for financial freedom, you imagine that you are looking toward a future event, a distant possibility you must strive to obtain through toil and effort. But what if that desire is the echo of the end already accomplished? What if the longing itself is evidence that the state of wealth is present in imagination, already complete, already fulfilled? You are not reaching for it. It is reaching for you. Think of a gardener who holds a seed in his hand. He does not mourn the seed, nor stare at it with longing, nor wonder whether a tree might someday appear. He knows, without question, that the tree already exists within the seed, not in visible form, but in essence. His role is not to create the tree. His role is to nurture the seed, so the tree may emerge. When you feel a desire, you are holding a seed of the end. That seed contains within itself the entire pattern of fulfillment, the relationships, the opportunities, the ideas, the circumstances, all woven into the finished result. You are not meant to chase the fruit. You are meant to assume the seed. The world teaches you to ask, how will I get it? When will it come? Who will bring it to me? But desire asks a much simpler question. Will you become the one who already has it? For the end is already written. You are merely awakening to it. Let us take a familiar example. The desire to be financially free. Most men imagine that such a desire arises because they lack money. They say, I am tired of being poor, as though the desire were born from frustration. But I have watched countless students awaken to a deeper truth. The desire is not born from lack. It is born from the state of wealth calling them. Wealth already exists in imagination. Freedom is already a completed act in the eternal realm. The desire is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is the seed saying, come, plant me, live in me, and I will unfold. Do not despise your desires. Do not label them fantasies. Do not interpret them as reminders of what you are not. See them for what they are, the voice of God within you, the divine imagination urging you to wear a new state. For desire is not a request you send outward. Desire is a summons you receive inward, a summons to become. So as we continue this journey, I ask you to hold this truth close. Your desires are not asking you to wait. They are asking you to assume, not someday, not when the facts permit, not when the world agrees, but now. For the end exists in this moment, fully formed, awaiting only your acceptance. And once you accept it, once you feel yourself to be that which you once sought, the world must bear witness. It has no choice. To understand the power that shapes your world, you must first understand the meaning of the end. When I speak of the end, I do not refer to the goal, nor the process of reaching it, nor the steps one takes along the path. I speak of the state in which the desire is already fulfilled, the scene after the prayer is answered, after the letter is received, after the change has taken place. The end is the finished act. Most men live their entire lives moving toward a goal. They hope, they plan, they wait, they toil, they measure progress, as though the future were something they must chase. But Scripture teaches a different law. Creation is finished. Everything you desire already exists in the unseen. Your task is not to create it. Your task is to assume the consciousness of the one who already possesses it. That is living in the end, not merely thinking about it. Let me draw the distinction clearly. To think about your desire is to view it from the outside, to consider it as something distant, something separate from yourself. You say, one day I will be wealthy. One day I will be healthy. One day I will be loved. These statements are always spoken from the standpoint of the one who lacks. But to think from your desire is to assume the identity of the one who already has. You feel wealth as though it were present. You feel love as though it were done. You feel health as your natural state. You do not hope for it, you embody it. This is the great shift upon which all manifestation depends. You cannot receive what you are not willing to become. Take the matter of money, for money is a subject that stirs the deepest beliefs in many. Most people, when they imagine having money, think of the moment before the money arrives. They imagine waiting for the check, waiting for the call, waiting for the opportunity. But that is not the end. The end is not receiving the money. The end is having the money. Do not imagine the moment of payment. Imagine the days that follow, the relief, the freedom, the sense of ease as you sit at your table, counting the bills already in your possession. The quiet gratitude as you realize every need is met. Do not imagine signing the contract. Imagine living in the result, already moved into the home, already embraced by the lover, already healed and walking with strength. You must enter the scene after the miracle has occurred. I said long ago, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, if persisted in, must harden into fact. Not because of magic, not because of luck, but because feeling is the only creative substance in the universe. When you feel yourself to be the one who has, the world must rearrange itself to reflect that feeling. Not may, not might, must. This is the law. For the world you know is not created from actions, but from assumptions. Your outer life is but the shadow cast by your inner state. So tonight, this entire experience, every word that follows, is a training in living from the result. We do not describe the desire. We dwell in its fulfillment. We do not pray for change. We assume change is done. We do not wait for signs. We become the sign. And as we proceed, I ask you to shift your attention gently, from wishing to accepting, from seeking to embodying, from longing to being. For the only difference between a man who waits for his dream and a man who lives his dream is the state from which he thinks. From this moment forward, you shall think from the end. You may repeat words 1,000 times. You may write them in journals. You may whisper them before sleep, and still nothing may change. Why? Because words alone have no creative power. The subconscious, the only force that molds reality, does not respond to speech. It responds to feeling, to the emotional conviction behind the words, to the state you accept as true. A man may declare, "I am wealthy," yet tremble with fear when he pays his bills. A woman may affirm, "I am loved," yet fall asleep with a knot of loneliness in her chest. In such cases, the subconscious does not hear the words. It hears the fear, the doubt, the ache beneath the surface. The subconscious accepts only what you feel to be real. This is why I have said again and again, feeling is the secret. Thought describes, feeling creates. You have experienced this countless times without noticing. Recall a moment in your past that brought sorrow. Although the event is long gone, the memory still carries force. You think of a conversation that wounded you, or a moment of loss, and suddenly your heart tightens. Your throat warms, your body reacts as though the event were happening now. The past has no power, only the feeling of the past does. If memory can move the body, imagination can too. Just as a sad memory can make you cry today, an imagined joy can make you feel relief today, and that relief, if sustained, must externalize itself in physical form. This is the great mystery. Your body cannot distinguish between a real event and an imagined one that is felt deeply. When you imagine receiving good news, and the breath leaves your chest in a sigh of relief, that reaction is the creative act. When you imagine being loved and peace settles over your shoulders, that is the creative act. When you imagine holding the long-awaited letter, counting the bills already received, embracing the person who returned to you, and your body releases its tension as though the moment were present, that is the creative act. For the subconscious is impressed by sensation, not logic. Let us apply this truth to 3 areas that concern most people: money, love, and health. A man who wishes to be wealthy must not try to believe he is wealthy. He must feel wealth as normal. He must breathe calmly when he thinks of money. He must spend without fear. He must feel ease where he once felt tension. A woman who desires love must not seek affection as though it is missing. She must feel the warmth of companionship. Now, she must rest in the assumption that she is chosen, valued, cherished. The one who desires health must not fight illness as an enemy. He must inhabit the body that is already whole and feel the vitality flowing through him, not someday, but now. We will not discuss these concepts merely as ideas. We shall live them. Let us enter a simple visualization. Close your eyes, if you are able, not as an escape from the world, but to enter a truer one. Take a moment to identify a situation that troubles you. A bill, a strained relationship, a medical concern, a debt, a question that keeps you awake. Do not dwell on the problem itself. That would only reinforce it. Instead, imagine the moment after it is resolved. Not the solving, but the having solved. If it is a debt, imagine placing the final receipt into a drawer and closing it with the quiet certainty that the matter is finished. If it is a health concern, imagine the doctor smiling kindly and saying, "There is nothing to worry about. You are perfectly well." If it is a relationship, imagine the arms around you, the softened voice, a simple, warm phrase. "It's all right now." Now feel what happens in your body. There is a loosening, a release, a soft exhale of peace. That shift, that subtle bodily response is the creative moment. Stay there. Do not rush. Do not reach. Let the feeling spread from your chest, down your arms, into your breathing, until your entire being rests in the truth of completion. This is the secret, not the scene itself, but the relief that follows. Relief is proof that you have entered the state of the wish fulfilled. And when relief becomes your natural mood, the world must reflect that new state, for the world always mirrors your inner condition. Never your words, never your hopes, never your efforts, only your feeling. From this point onward, we will not speak as seekers. We will speak as those who have found. We will not feel toward the end. We will feel from the end, and the end will take form. Most people, when they attempt to change their lives, make a fatal mistake. They try to believe with the mind, while the body remains in the old state. They speak new words. They think new thoughts. They repeat affirmations. Yet their chest remains tight, their breath shallow, their stomach clenched with doubt. The mind tries to believe, but the body refuses. True creation does not occur in the intellect. It occurs in the feeling nature, in the emotional acceptance of a new identity. A man may insist, "I know I will succeed," but if his body trembles with anxiety, he does not truly believe. The subconscious hears only the trembling. Feeling is not something you force. It is something you generate through inner experience. To feel something you have not yet seen, you must learn to use the senses of imagination, not as fantasies or dreams, but as instruments of creation. Close your eyes for a moment, not to escape reality, but to enter the deeper one. Let us explore the inner senses, for they are the bridge between idea and embodiment. Begin with inner sight. Do not attempt to see a detailed image, for many believe visualization means painting the entire scene in vivid detail. This often leads to strain. Instead, allow a single image to arise naturally. A letter in your hand, a key turning in a new door, a familiar room seen from a new height of joy. Now bring in inner hearing. Hear a voice, calm and sincere, saying, "Congratulations," or perhaps, "I knew you could do it," or simply, "I'm so happy for you." The subconscious responds powerfully to simple phrases that imply completion. Then, engage inner touch. Feel the warmth of an embrace, the texture of a hand in yours, the weight of a document, the softness of a pillow beneath you as you fall asleep in victory. Do not underestimate touch. One single moment of felt contact can carry more power than 1,000 mental rehearsals of abstract ideas. And at the center of all senses lies the true catalyst, the central emotion. Ask yourself gently, if the desire were fulfilled right now, what would I feel in my body? Not what I would say, not what I would think, but what would I feel? Relief, joy, calm certainty, gratitude, a quiet smile? This is where many fail. They visualize the result, but remain emotionally identical to the person who lacks it. You are not attempting to imagine the moment before the blessing. You are imagining the moment after. Do not imagine winning the case. Imagine sitting in silence afterward, feeling the weight of tension lifting from your shoulders. Do not imagine receiving the money. Imagine standing in your room days later, folding clothes, smiling softly, because everything is now taken care of. Do not imagine meeting the person. Imagine resting beside them. At night, their breath calm, their presence familiar. These scenes are powerful precisely because they are simple. A single scene, felt deeply, repeated nightly, is more creative than 1,000 scattered thoughts. The scene must be short, no more than a moment. Why? Because a long scene invites the rational mind to interfere, to question, to analyze. A short scene slips quietly into the subconscious like a seed planted beneath the soil. It does not ask permission. It simply grows. Imagine a friend placing a hand on your shoulder and saying, "I'm proud of you." That one sensation, that one phrase, if repeated in a state of relaxed receptivity, will do more to reshape your world than endless hours of mental effort. Let us practice now. Close your eyes. Let your breath soften. Imagine someone dear to you, someone whose opinion you value, standing before you, smiling with genuine warmth. They look at you with admiration, as though witnessing a victory already achieved. Hear the words spoken softly, "I'm so happy for you." Feel the vibration of those words enter your body, not as hope, but as recognition. Let your shoulders loosen, let your chest open, let a quiet joy spread through your face. Hold it, let it settle. Do not reach, do not force. Simply be the one who has already received. When that feeling becomes natural, you have crossed the threshold from wanting to being. And when being is established, the world must follow. There is a sacred moment, barely noticed by most, yet it is the most fertile ground for creation. It is the moment when the body begins to surrender to sleep, yet the mind has not dissolved into dreams. You hover between worlds, no longer fully awake, not yet unconscious. This delicate threshold is what I have called the state akin to sleep. It is the golden door. In your waking hours, the rational mind is loud. It questions, it compares, it doubts, it insists on logic. It clings to the evidence of the senses as though they were the only truth. But in that quiet edge before sleep, the rational mind releases its grip. It loosens its authority. It grows silent. And when reason falls silent, the subconscious takes the throne. What you feel in this state enters the deeper mind without resistance. What you assume in this state becomes your reality. Creation does not occur through effort, but through acceptance. And acceptance is easiest when the conscious mind dissolves into stillness. So let us prepare the body for this sacred passage. Do not sit upright as though preparing for labor. Lie down comfortably, as though you already rest in the fulfillment of your desire. Let the spine soften. Let the hands rest wherever they naturally fall. Let the jaw loosen, for tension is the mark of effort, and effort belongs to the world of wanting. Now breathe slowly, softly. Do not force the breath. Simply allow it. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the surface beneath you, as though gravity itself is drawing you into a deeper world. Close your eyes, not to escape the outer world, but to enter the inner one, where true creation occurs. Let the concerns of the day dissolve. They no longer belong to you. You are not preparing to fix the world. You are preparing to replace it. Once the body grows still, let us introduce a scene. But remember, the scene must be short. Not the process of receiving, but the moment after. Perhaps it is the warmth of a hand in yours. Perhaps it is the soft sound of someone saying, "It's done." Perhaps it is the simple feeling of laying your head upon your pillow with the quiet certainty that everything is taken care of. Whatever scene you choose, let it imply the fulfillment of the desire. Now replay that scene, not as a film you observe, but as an experience you inhabit. Enter the scene as though it were happening now. Do not watch yourself from afar. Be inside the body, looking through your own eyes. Hear the voice, feel the touch, taste the emotion. Let the scene loop gently over and over until it begins to feel familiar, not like imagination, but like memory. You will know you have succeeded when the body responds, when your breath deepens, when relief washes through your limbs, when a small smile rises without effort. At that moment, you are no longer imagining. You are dwelling in the state. Remain there as you drift into sleep. Do not wake yourself to evaluate whether it is working. Do not return to logic or analysis. Let the scene carry you across the threshold of consciousness. For what is impressed upon the subconscious in this state must express itself outwardly. Sleep tonight, not as the one who seeks, but as the one who has found, not as the one who desires, but as the one who possesses. Before you close your eyes again tonight, you may choose a scene such as this. Feel someone embrace you gently and whisper, with warmth and certainty, "I'm so glad everything worked out." Let that be enough. Let that be the doorway. Go to sleep in the end. For the world you awaken to will rise from the world you fall asleep in. When I say that you must feel yourself to be the person who already has what you desire, I do not speak in metaphor. I speak in literal law. Your world does not respond to your wishes. It responds to your frequency. A man may cling to hope with all his strength, yet if his inner state remains one of longing, his world will continue to reflect absence. You cannot receive from the station of abundance while tuning yourself to the frequency of lack. Think of a radio. The music you desire may already be in the room with you, vibrating through the air in waves unseen. But unless you tune the dial to that precise frequency, you will hear only static, not because the music does not exist, but because you are not aligned with it. So it is with wealth, with love, with health, with every object of desire. Your good already exists here, now, in the unseen. It does not need to be created, it needs to be received. And reception is a matter of alignment. Every desire you hold vibrates in a particular emotional tone. The frequency of abundance is ease, thankfulness, quiet confidence. The frequency of love is warmth, safety, the feeling of being chosen. The frequency of health is vitality, relief, a deep sense of inner order. But most people approach their desires from the opposite state. They seek wealth while vibrating as fear. They seek love while vibrating as loneliness. They seek health while vibrating as worry. And then they believe their desires are denied. But the principle is simple. You cannot tune to suffering and expect to receive the music of joy. Do not misunderstand me. I do not ask you to pretend. I do not ask you to recite positive thoughts while the body trembles with anxiety. Forced positivity is simply fear, wearing a brighter color. I ask you to choose a higher state deliberately, not by denial of what is, but by alignment with what is becoming. So how does one tune the inner dial? Begin with gratitude, not as a moral virtue, but as a practical instrument. Gratitude is the fastest route to the end state, for gratitude can only be felt by the one who has. When you say, even silently, "Thank you," and mean it, you step into possession. Fear cannot coexist with gratitude. They dissolve one another. Next, recall moments of genuine victory, not imagined, but remembered. The subconscious does not distinguish between the feeling of a past success and the feeling of a future one. Relive a moment in which life surprised you with kindness, in which circumstances aligned in your favor. Feel again the rush, the relief, the wonder of that moment. You are not remembering the past, you are reactivating the frequency of triumph. Then, use the body. Movement alters state more quickly than thought. Take a slow walk, not with hurried footsteps, but with the gait of one who has no concern for tomorrow. Stand tall, breathe deeply, let the stomach unclench, let the shoulders soften. The body is the instrument through which the subconscious speaks. When the body relaxes into the feeling of having, consciousness follows. A man may never think the thought, "I am secure," yet if his chest releases and his breath deepens, he has entered security. That shift, even subtle, changes the world he perceives. A problem, once seen as threatening, now appears manageable. An opportunity once invisible comes into view. A closed path opens. Nothing outside changed. The tuner changed. And because perception changed, possibility changed. You do not force your way into a new life. You tune yourself into it. You may begin now. Even where you sit, let your breath soften. Allow your shoulders to drop. Let the jaw loosen. Let a quiet sigh escape the body. There, that exhale is the beginning of alignment. Do not underestimate small inner shifts. They are the first movements of mountains. The frequency of desire fulfilled is available now. You need only tune yourself to hear it. You may change your feelings for a moment. You may visualize a scene with sincerity. You may even drift into satas with conviction. Yet if the words you speak throughout the day belong to the one who waits, you will slowly pull yourself back into the old state. Language is not merely communication. Language is identity expressed. It is the clothing of consciousness. A man who speaks as though he hopes for a blessing confesses that he does not yet possess it. A woman who says, "One day I will be provided for," reveals that she identifies with lack in the present. Words betray the state you occupy. Most people speak as seekers. They do not realize that every sentence containing hope is a declaration of absence. Consider these common phrases. I hope it comes soon. One day things will change. When I finally have enough money, as soon as life gives me a chance. All such expressions hold the promise in the future, and what is always placed in the future never arrives in the present. The future is a horizon that continually recedes. To live in the end, your words must arise from completion, not anticipation. Instead of saying, I hope things improve, say, it feels wonderful to know everything has unfolded perfectly. Do not say, one day I will travel, but I adore the freedom of traveling wherever I wish. Not, I will be happy when I find companionship, but it feels so natural to be loved, to be chosen, to be wanted. Do not mistake this shift for lying. Lying is pretending something is true, while believing it is false. Living in the end is wearing the truth before it appears, until the outer world recognizes it. It is not deception, it is assumption, and assumption is creation. You are not trying to convince the world, you are convincing yourself. For when the inner man accepts a thing as true, the outer world has no choice but to comply. Let us practice now, quietly and privately. I will offer 3 statements of desire. Transform each into the language of completion, not aloud, but within your own mind. Here is the first. I really hope I receive financial relief soon. Now shift into the end. Thank you. It feels so peaceful now that everything is paid and provided for. Do you notice how the body reacts differently? One creates tension, the other releases it. Second, I wish someone loved me the way I love. Transform it. It feels so natural to be cherished, deeply seen, and held with affection. You are not asking for love. You are wearing the state of the beloved. Third, I am trying to heal, to feel better. Transform it. My body rests in harmony now. I feel whole, balanced, and restored. Do not worry if these new sentences feel unfamiliar. They are garments you must break in. At first they may feel too large, but soon they will fit the contours of your nature. Continue observing your speech throughout the day. Notice when you speak as one who waits. Gently shift to the language of one who has, not forcefully, not as obligation, but as remembrance. For your words, when born of feeling, are not merely sounds floating in the air. They are the voice of God within you, declaring what shall be. You have now learned how to assume the end, how to feel its truth, how to speak from possession rather than desire. But there is a subtle trap that many fall into. They believe that once the inner state is assumed, no action is required, as though creation demanded only sleep and stillness. This misunderstanding leads some to laziness, others to disappointment, and many to confusion. Let me say this plainly. You are not to force the world, but neither are you to sit idle when inspiration calls. There are 2 kinds of action: forced action and inspired action. Forced action is born of fear. It says, if I do not hurry, nothing will happen. If I do not push, life will forget me. If I do not struggle, I will be left behind. This action is heavy, draining, panicked. It comes from the state of lack. A man in lack sends countless letters, pleads for approval, chases every opportunity, begs life to open a door. He knocks upon doors that were never meant for him, and when they do not open, he believes the universe is cruel, but he was simply acting from the wrong state. Now consider inspired action. It is gentle. It arrives not through anxiety, but through quiet impulse. A thought arises, light as a whisper. Visit that place, phone that person, send that letter now, begin writing, stay home tonight. These impulses do not demand, they invite. They are the outpouring of the state you have already assumed. For when you dwell in the end, life begins to move to meet you. You will find yourself led effortlessly to the people, places, and circumstances that align with your assumption. Not because you forced them, but because the state attracted them. I once had a student who desired financial freedom. He imagined endlessly, yet grew frustrated because his external world remained unchanged. I asked him, have you remained faithful to your desire? He said, yes, yet nothing has come. But as we continued speaking, I discovered his days were filled with anxious labor, running from one scheme to another, driven not by confidence, but by fear that nothing would arrive unless he fought for it. He did not act from abundance. He acted from panic. When he finally surrendered the struggle and assumed the feeling of wealth, not merely in imagination, but in posture, in speech, in rest, within a week, he received an invitation from an acquaintance, leading to a venture that changed his entire life. The opportunity did not come while he was forcing life. It came when he allowed life. You do not make it happen. You allow it to happen. I recall another woman who wished to reconcile with a loved one. She wrote long letters in desperation, weeping as she posted them, hoping her sorrow might persuade fate. But sorrow cannot create reunion. Only love can. When she released her struggle and assumed the feeling of harmony restored, a sudden impulse arose. Buy flowers and place them on the table as though he were already home. She felt foolish, but obeyed the impulse calmly, without expectation. That very evening, without a message or arrangement, the man returned, not because she begged, but because she aligned. You see, the world obeys your state, not your efforts. When you assume the end, you need not chase opportunity. Opportunity recognizes you. Let this be clear. Action is not the cause. The state is the cause. Action is merely the bridge that connects the invisible to the visible, but only inspired action. Action born from the end has creative power. Forced action says, I must do this or nothing will happen. Inspired action says, it feels natural to do this now. One is strain, the other is flow. Do not force, do not cling, do not bargain with life. Stand in the end, feel the truth of your desire fulfilled. And when life whispers in your ear, however softly, follow, not as effort, but as confirmation that the unseen is becoming seen. You are not the laborer of your dream. You are its embodiment. There are some who attempt to assume the feeling of already having, but find themselves pulled backward by memories of lack, old humiliations, old failures, old rejections. They try to feel wealth, yet the memory of being denied overwhelms the new state. They try to feel loved, yet the memory of being abandoned speaks louder. They try to feel whole, yet the memory of illness lingers in the body. These memories act as anchors, keeping consciousness tied to an old identity. This is why I have taught again and again the great art of revision. Revision is the deliberate recreation of past experience, not to escape truth, but to awaken to the higher truth that consciousness, not history, is the author of your life. When you revise a past event, you do not change the outer world retroactively. You change the inner meaning attached to that moment. And because tomorrow arises from the deep beliefs of yesterday, a revised past births a new future. Let us speak plainly. Many hold painful memories around money, being refused help, being told, we cannot afford that, being ashamed at a counter, being criticized for wanting more. Such memories leave emotional imprints. You may try to assume abundance today, but the body remembers yesterday's lack. Revision dissolves that memory and replaces it with one aligned to your desire. Let me guide you through it. Find a moment, not the worst moment of your life, but a small event that still carries a sting. Perhaps you were standing before a clerk who spoke to you coldly. Perhaps you opened a letter expecting payment only to find rejection. Perhaps someone dismissed your dreams as foolish. Perhaps you asked for help and were turned away. Do not relive it as a victim. Simply observe it gently, as though watching a scene upon a stage. Now alter it. This time, the clerk smiles warmly and says, everything is approved. It is all taken care of. This time, the letter does not deny you. It offers more than you asked for. This time, the one who dismissed you says instead, I believe in you. Whatever you need, I will support you. This time, the door that closed opens effortlessly. Do not rush. Let the new scene unfold simply. Hear the tone of kindness. See the gesture of generosity. Feel the relief that washes through your body. For the scene itself is not the power. The relief is the power. Stay with that relief until it becomes real, not imagined. For in that moment, you have rewritten your psychological past. The subconscious does not store events as they happened. It stores them as they are felt. When you change the feeling of the past, you free the future from its influence. I knew a man who once entered a bank, fearful and ashamed, asking for assistance he did not receive. He carried that humiliation for years, and though he worked tirelessly, money eluded him. When I instructed him to revise the scene, to hear the banker say, "We've arranged everything. You have more than enough credit," and to feel the relief of being respected and supported, his financial life shifted, not because the bank changed, but because he no longer approached life as the man who was denied. He became the man who is trusted. The world must reflect that identity. You see, you do not revise the past to pretend. You revise the past to remove the emotional poison that contradicts your new state. After revision, you will find it easier, much easier, to maintain the feeling of already having. The old memory no longer argues with you. The body no longer resists. Your assumption is no longer contradicted by the nervous system. Through revision, you uproot the weeds, so the seed of your desire may grow freely. Tonight before you sleep, choose one memory, not the largest, just one that still stings, and rewrite it with tenderness. Not to escape life, but to reclaim authorship of it. For you are not the product of your past. Your past is the product of your consciousness, and consciousness is yours to reshape. There will come a moment in your journey when the outer world begins to protest, not because your assumption is wrong, but because the old state is losing its power. Reality may shift in ways that seem contradictory or even hostile. The bank account may appear lower. The letter may not arrive. A conversation may take a sharp turn. Opportunities may seem to retreat rather than advance. Many abandon their assumption at this stage, for they believe appearances are truth. But I tell you, what you see with the physical eye is never the cause. It is merely the echo. By the time something becomes visible, it is already past. It is the shadow cast by a former state. If you judge by appearances, you remain enslaved to your past assumptions. This is why I have said, to judge by appearances is to remain stuck in the past. When something in your world seems to move against your desire, do not panic. Do not retreat. Do not say, "It is not working." Instead say, "This is merely evidence of the old state dissolving." Hold your inner position, for the unseen is rearranging itself in ways you cannot yet perceive. I recall a woman who sought reconciliation with her brother. She held the assumption faithfully, imagining the warmth of reunion. Yet the first response she received from him was colder than ever, distant, wounded, final. She wept and came to me troubled, saying, "Everything has gone backwards. I must have failed." I told her, "It is not failure. It is the death cry of the former state. Hold to the end." She returned home, and instead of rehearsing the hurtful words, she laid in bed imagining his embrace, hearing him say gently, "It is good to have you back." Within a week, without cause or explanation, he appeared at her door, his heart softened, his manner transformed. Facts did not lead her faith. Her faith led the facts. There was another man who desired independence in business. He imagined success, but his employer unexpectedly reduced his wage. He came to me distressed, believing his vision had betrayed him. But I asked him, "What if this reduction is not loss, but the final push that frees you to claim your own path?" He assumed success again, not as revenge, but as fulfillment. Within months he left that job entirely and entered a venture that surpassed his former income many times over. The reduction was not the end, it was the bridge. If he had judged by appearances, he would have remained bound. This is righteous judgment, to judge not by the natural eye, but by the truth accepted within. Do not ask the world to show proof before you believe. You are not the follower of facts. You are their cause. Let the world be what it must be, while it rearranges itself. Stand in the state, hold to the end, remain unmoved. Do not argue with appearances, let them pass. Remain faithful to the inner fact, for when the inner fact is stable, the outer fact must arrive, and it will arrive with a force that leaves no doubt. Continue walking as the one who already is. The world will catch up. There is a truth so profound that many resist it, not because it is complex, but because it dissolves the illusion of separation. You believe others act independently of you. You believe their choices are their own. You believe the banker, the employer, the stranger on the street live lives that have nothing to do with your inner world. But I tell you, everyone is yourself pushed out. Every person who enters your story is cast in a role assigned by your state of consciousness. There are no independent actors. There is only one being, expressing itself in many forms. When you dwell in a state of abundance, others will appear as helpers, as open doors, as channels of supply. When you dwell in a state of unworthiness, the same individuals may appear as obstacles, closed gates, cold voices. They have not changed. You have changed. And when you change, the world must change with you. Consider the man who sought a loan from a bank. He entered the office, trembling, expecting rejection. The banker reflected his assumption precisely. He returned to me and said, "They refused me. They do not believe in me." I replied, "No, it is you who did not believe in yourself." The banker simply played the part you assigned him. He assumed a new state, the feeling of being trusted and supplied. He returned to the same bank, and the same man who once denied him approved the very request he had rejected. The banker did not convert. The state changed, and the banker obeyed the new script. There was a woman who desired companionship. She held the assumption of being unloved, and the world answered accordingly. Those she met were indifferent or distant. When she finally assumed the feeling of being cherished, not sought, not pursued, but cherished, the same people who once overlooked her suddenly spoke with warmth, offered kindness, and one even confessed long-hidden affection. Again, the individuals had not changed. The state had changed. Everyone simply played their part. This law does not make you superior to others. It makes you responsible for the roles they play. If someone appears hostile, do not battle them. Change the state from which you see them. When a man assumes abundance, opportunities rise from unexpected corners. A forgotten friend writes, a door opens from a direction he never considered. Someone thinks of him at the precise moment help is needed. No force, no persuasion, no pleading, simply alignment. There are not many minds. There is one mind, expressing through all. So bless others, not to change them, but to change the image you hold of them. Quietly, silently, without ceremony. Say, I see you as blessed. I see you as abundant. I see you as generous and kind. And in blessing you, I bless myself. For there is no blessing you give that does not return to its source. You are the center from which your world radiates. Others are the mirrors which reveal your state. If you would change the world, change the state from which you observe the world. There are no strangers. There are no enemies. There are no separate minds. There is only consciousness, reflected through the many faces you meet. There is a point in this work where the technique becomes unnecessary, not because you abandon it, but because it has fulfilled its purpose. You have impressed the subconscious so faithfully that you no longer practice the state, you are the state. This is the moment when the assumption ceases to feel like an effort and begins to feel like identity. The question is no longer, how do I get what I want? But, who am I now, in imagination? For everything you experience springs from that answer. If you are the wealthy one, you no longer hurry. You no longer seek reassurance from the outer world. You no longer examine your circumstances as though they were indicators of fate. You move with calm decision, not to acquire wealth, but because wealth is the natural expression of who you are. If you are the loved one, you no longer beg for affection. You no longer wonder whether others approve of you, for love radiates from you rather than toward you. If you are the healthy one, you do not monitor every sensation in fear. You do not dwell on symptoms. You do not measure life in treatments and remedies. You live from wholeness. The one who already has does not announce it. He does not parade it through the streets, nor seek validation, nor look for confirmation from the world. He simply is. And because he is, the world must reflect him. You may ask, how do I know the identity has taken root? There are subtle signs. You feel less compelled to check, less tempted to measure your progress, less anxious about time. The old impulses fade, the urge to compare, the need to justify, the habit of doubting. You do not look at your account with a trembling heart. You look with neutrality, sometimes even forgetfulness, for your peace no longer depends upon figures. Your reactions change before circumstances do. Where once you felt desperation, now you feel quiet certainty. Where once rejection wounded you, now it rolls off like rain from stone. Where once delay frightened you, now you feel no delay at all. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. The outer world is merely adjusting to your new nature. Some imagine that once they assume wealth, they must announce it, display it, prove it to others. But that is not identity, that is insecurity. You do not need to show it to the world will show it to you. It will speak through opportunities, through changed reactions in others, through new currents of events, through the arrangement of circumstances so harmonious that it appears miraculous. The one who has assumed the state remains inwardly still. He no longer strains. He no longer apologizes for desire. He no longer asks life for permission. He simply lives. And the world, obedient as a shadow, follows. Ask yourself now, not with words, but with quiet sincerity. Who am I? Right now in imagination. Do not answer with logic. Feel the answer rise from within. If the answer reveals lack, shift, not through force, but by slipping gently into the essence of having become the one you seek. For the state is not a ladder you climb, it is a garment you wear. Once it fits, you will not remember the day you put it on. You will simply know, I have always been this. When one understands that feeling is the cause and that the world is only its shadow, a natural question arises. What must I do each day to remain in the end? Not as a sporadic effort, not as a moment of inspiration, but as a way of being. Because true transformation does not come from a single night of intensity, it comes from gentle persistence. Night after night, you clothe yourself in the state you choose. Not for an hour, not with strain, but for a few quiet minutes before sleep carries you beyond the gate of reason. This is the great secret of spiritual practice. Constancy is more powerful than intensity. It is not the fire that burns briefly, but the flame that never goes out, that transforms the world. So let me give you a simple nightly formula, not to repeat mechanically, but to live. Just a few minutes, a ritual of becoming. When you retire to your bed, do not bring the noise of the day with you. You are crossing the threshold between worlds. Lie down comfortably. Let the limbs grow heavy. Let the breath become slow and effortless. Now enter silence. Not forced silence, but a quiet listening as though waiting for a soft voice within. Then allow yourself to feel gratitude. Not for the desire itself, but for something real, something simple. Perhaps the warmth of your pillow. Perhaps the kindness of a conversation you had. Perhaps the food that nourished you today. Let gratitude soften you. Do not rush. Let it expand slowly, like water filling a vessel. Now choose a single scene that implies your desire is fulfilled. Not the struggle, not the moment of receiving, but the moment after, when everything is already complete. That scene must be short, no more than a sigh. Perhaps a friend placing a hand on your shoulder and saying, I'm so happy for you. Perhaps the cool touch of a key you now possess. Perhaps lying in your room with a calm smile, knowing all is well. Experience the scene from within, not as an observer. Look through your own eyes. Feel your own hands. Hear the voices around you. Repeat it gently, looping like a lullaby, until you feel the emotions settle in the body. And when the feeling begins to take root, whisper inwardly, not aloud, it is done. Or say, softly in consciousness, I have it now. All is fulfilled. This is my reality. Choose whichever phrase speaks from the end, not to persuade yourself, but to acknowledge what already is. Then allow yourself to drift into sleep while clothed in that feeling. Do not analyze. Do not check your progress. Do not attempt to hold on to the scene forcibly. Let it carry you. For sleep is the workshop in which the unseen becomes the seen. If you do this nightly, not as ritual, not as effort, but as the natural conclusion of your day, your world must bow to the state you wear. This simple practice done faithfully, will achieve more than hours of strain in daylight. A few minutes in the end outweigh 1,000 hours in the middle. You are not trying to make anything happen, you are surrendering to what already is, and the world will rise to meet you. From the beginning, I have not spoken to you merely of desire. I have not gathered you here only to improve the conditions of your life, though they will improve inevitably as night follows day. These teachings, the law of assumption, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the nightly journey into the end, are but the outer garments of a far greater revelation. They belong to the law, and the law is precious. It is the mechanism by which the invisible becomes visible. It is the bridge from thought to form. It gives you houses, opportunities, wealth, health, companionship. It rearranges the world according to your inner state. But there is something beyond the law. There is the promise. The law shapes the world around you. The promise awakens the world within you. The law gives things. The promise reveals the giver. The law bends circumstances to your will. The promise reveals that the will itself is God. The law changes your life. The promise changes your nature. When you first encounter these teachings, you may come seeking relief, a way to solve a problem, a means to escape fear, a chance to live more freely. And that is good. I welcome such desire, for it is often through the need for change that man discovers his own creative power. But once you taste the truth, once you see the world obey your assumption, once you discover that feeling moves mountains, a deeper question arises. Who is the one doing the creating? Who is the I that assumes? Who is the one who declares, I have it now? Who is the consciousness that clothes itself in states and calls them life? I tell you, it is not the limited man of flesh. It is not the personality shaped by birth and circumstance. It is I am, the eternal being, the living God, your own wonderful human imagination. When Moses asked for the name of the eternal, the answer was not a title, not an image, not an external deity. It was a command of identity. I am, that I am. Not he is, not they are. I am. Every time you say, I am free, I am wealthy, I am loved, you speak with that same ancient voice. You are not appealing to a power outside yourself. You are awaking the power within yourself. All manifestation is the beginning of remembrance. When you assume love, you remember that you are love. When you assume abundance, you remember that you are the source of abundance. When you assume wholeness, you remember that life flows from within you, not toward you. These teachings are not meant to make you a master of matter. They are meant to reveal that you are spirit, not a child of God, not a servant of God, but God made conscious. When the veil lifts fully, you will not marvel that money came, or that relationships healed, or that opportunities opened. You will marvel that there was never anyone to bless you but yourself. For there is only one being, you. One day, you will lay aside the desire to manifest, not because you are tired of it, but because you no longer feel lack. You will seek not the gift, but the giver. Not the shadow, but the source. For manifestation is the echo. Awakening is the voice. The journey ends not in possession, but in remembrance. Let us seal this night, not with effort, but with recognition. Do not repeat these words mechanically. Let them rise from the depth of being. Say softly, inwardly, I am the one who already has. I am the one who already is. I am. Now rest. Let the words fade. Let the silence speak. For in the silence, the promise is waiting.